read you Khabib's quote. And this is as it pertains to a future match, a rematch with Conor McGregor. He said, if we're talking about money, this is good. If we're talking about drama, this is good. If we're talking about a true lightweight contender, this is no good. And that was his statement. But now let's break that down a little bit, because I don't agree with Khabib. I just don't see it that way. I think he got 2 of the 3 prongs right. That does do good money. That definitely has a lot of drama around it. But to make believe as though Conor McGregor isn't a true contender, man, I struggle with that one. I struggle with that to the highest of levels. And I will fully acknowledge that the Kevin Lees of the world and the Justin Gaethjes out there and the Tony Fergusons, I will fully acknowledge there's other guys that have done a great job. But if you can then concede back to me that Conor McGregor is also one of those guys, now we can be logical and reasonable, and now we can start to compare resumes. Conor McGregor has 3 world championships. One of them that meant so little to him, he acts like it didn't even happen. Could you even imagine being so successful at something that you forget a world championship that you won, that you don't even claim it on future resumes, that you coin a term champ, you legally have that trademarked as your own, when you're actually a champ, he forgot one of them. He's acting like the interim title didn't even happen. That's the one he forgot. Conor isn't a champ. Conor's a champ. He'd been so successful, he left out one of his own damn world championships. I mean, I'm just saying for you guys, in all fairness, covered 45, covered 55, covered 70, went into another sport known as boxing. Came back, had a long layoff. I mean, come hook or crook, either way, he had a long layoff, comes back, never gets hit once, stops a former world title contender in 40 seconds, throws 20 punches, 19 of them land, leaves unscathed himself. By the way, was at the arena 40 minutes prior to the walk, had just enough time to change his suit, pee in a cup, and wrap his hands. And you're going to tell me this guy isn't a legitimate contender? Now, I think that maybe what Khabib meant to say is if for anyone that's pushing back and saying Conor's going to come and get the jump on me in the rematch, I'm going to beat him even worse should we meet up again. Because he did take time off. He did leave the division. He is now just returning, and I have been active the entire time. We as human beings do not get better at something by not doing it. That's the category that Conor's in. I, meanwhile, have gone through training camps, sustained very little damage, dealt with the pressure, dealt with the weight cuts, dealt with everything, and I'm even better now. If Khabib's choosing to make that argument, I'll most definitely listen. I will also share for you, yes, there is a gap between Khabib and the field. There is a meaningful gap. Not only is Khabib 28-0, which is very impressive, Khabib has only lost 1 round ever. And another award that he has is Khabib has more 10-8 rounds, which represents the most dominant you can possibly be without having a fight stopped. He has more 10-8 rounds than anybody in the history of the sport. A little stat that never gets mentioned. I'm the first to bring it up, credit to me, but I do think that it proves my point. There's a gap there. And if what Khabib is attempting to say is, before any of you get too excited over Conomania, just remember who the man is. If that's what he's attempting to say, we're all done here. No debate, no argument. If you're trying to say that Conor isn't a legitimate choice for #1 contender, now we're going to have to extend this conversation because, yes, he is. Not only because of the money and the drama, which is a piece of the pie. There's some real purists out there that don't want to ever admit that this is an entire pie, and having the competitiveness and having the rankings, that does represent 80%. For sure, that is the majority, and that is where the integrity of the sport needs to be. But you also cannot come to me understanding the sport with no mandate of the masses, no demand by the fans and the people to elevate and push you and act as though that doesn't represent the other 20%. So the integrity is protected. It's 80-20. The integrity comes first, for sure. But to act as though there's not another meaningful slice that the fans then get a say in? I mean, who are the experts out there? We just have to fall to the rankings every single time? A few guys that got a .com and know a little hypertext markup language? A little HTML to get their word out there on the interwebs? Those are the guys we have to listen? No. Those are pretty good guys that have a pretty good opinion. So we'll give them 80% of this thing. But the fans also get a say. The fans have a buy-in. When a fan buys a ticket, he's now a shareholder. When a fan buys the pay-per-view, he's now a shareholder. He has bought in. He gets an opinion. And whenever I see somebody say, well, I'm the best guy and I should be given the opportunity, you just might be the best guy. Now win over the rankings. Play the game. Win over the rankings. Convince these Poindexters with pins and HTML experience that you're the guy. Once you succeed at that, there's still 20% left. That's where the politics come in, but that's a very real part of our sport. People hear that term, they like to throw it out. They like to turn their nose up at it. You can do that, but you are going to be alone. You can do that and push back and hang your hat on being a purist, or you can understand how the game is played. Conor McGregor has a ranking. He has 3 world championships. He thinks he has 2, this dumb son of a bitch. He thinks he has 2. Somebody almost needs to slap Conor, go, hey, Conor, I got good news. You're better than you think you are. Champ. A guy who's won 3 titles literally trademarked the term champ. Took one of his own titles away. That's how good this guy is. And he most definitely satisfies that final piece of the pie, which is the mandate of the masses. Definitely. So if Khabib meant, I can still whip that guy. Okay, great. That's actually what this is about. Khabib, that's actually why we're going to put you 2 in there, to see if your premise is true. But to act as though Conor is not a top contender, I mean, that's just silly. How disrespectful can we be to a guy who showed the courage to train for 8 weeks, go into a weight class that he does not belong, against a former #1 contender, look so good that we're now faced with 2 tough choices. Do we compliment the guy who we don't like? I mean, if you're a Conor hater, this is what you have to ask yourself. Do I compliment Conor? Do I tip my hat and acknowledge, man, that was something special? If the answer is no, I just can't bring myself to do that, you're then left with only one other choice, which is that you put down Cowboy. You say that Cowboy underperformed, Cowboy didn't look good out there, Cowboy never got started, Cowboy got... You have to choose one. You either tip your hat to Conor or you insult Cowboy. No matter how much you dislike or whatever jealousy or envy that you share for Conor, to choose to insult Cowboy Cerrone, who has 11 different sole distinctions within an industry, who also covered 2 different weight classes, 2 different organizations, did the heavy lift. I mean, come on. Come on, I don't think you're very reasonable. Tip your hat, acknowledge who's next in line. In all fairness, you decide whether you want him to get the opportunity. Hatred's a real part of life. Holding the guy back is a real part of life. I understand that. But we're having a separate conversation.